Welcome back to Classic Mosaic Truth. Today, we're digging into a really powerful idea from Thomas Troward's The Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. It's a principle for getting a handle on your own mind that, honestly, is just as relevant now as it was over 100 years ago.
You know that feeling, right? That feeling of being on autopilot. You get a frustrating email, and you just react. You're in traffic, and you snap. You meant to do something productive, but suddenly you find yourself just scrolling. It's that feeling of being pulled along by life instead of you being the one in the driver's seat.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at that driven feeling. Then we'll unpack Troward's model of the mind. After that, we'll get into the real key to self-mastery, see it in action with some everyday examples, and then I'll leave you with a simple practice you can use literally today.
All right, so let's start with that autopilot feeling. Troward saw this as a really fundamental part of being human. And his work gives us this amazing framework for understanding it, and more importantly, working with it instead of constantly fighting against it.
So when we feel driven by these things, these impulses, these moods, we're basically running on old programming, right? Conditioned responses. Troward called this being run by our lower modes of intelligence. What's so wild is that a century later, modern neuroscience basically says the same thing, just with different words. They talk about our prefrontal cortex, our rational brain, getting hijacked by the more primitive, automatic parts. The labels change, but the experience, it's exactly the same.
Okay, so if we're stuck on autopilot, how do we, switch it off? Well, Troward's core idea here is that our mind isn't just one big, messy thing. It actually operates in different modes, and there's a clear hierarchy. Let's take a look at how this works. This is it. This is the central idea. Troward suggests our intelligence isn't flat, it's on a scale. At the very top, you have your conscious, creative, directing thought. This is where you have new ideas, where you make choices. And then at the bottom, you have the automated, responsive, habit-building part of your mind.
I love this analogy. Think of it like a ship. Your higher mind, that's the captain on the bridge. The captain is calm, aware, sees the big picture, chooses the destination, and gives clear, simple orders. The lower mind, that's the powerful engine room. It doesn't ask questions, it doesn't debate the course, it just takes the orders and powerfully, automatically moves the ship forward, building momentum.
And this is so important. This is not a battle. It's not good you versus bad you. It's not two opposing forces fighting for control. It's a single unified system. The captain and the engine room are on the same team. They are designed to work together perfectly. The whole goal is alignment, not conflict. Okay, so this all leads to the really practical stuff. If we've got a captain and an engine room, how do we actually get them to work together in a way that helps us? This is where Troward's wisdom is just brilliant.
Our first instinct when we have a thought or a habit we don't like is to just squash it, right? We try to use brute force. Stop thinking about that. Don't be angry. I will not eat that cookie. But trying to fight it directly, well, that's usually a losing battle. But why?
What's fascinating is that modern psychology actually has a name for why this backfires. It's called ironic process theory. The famous experiment is, try not to think of a white bear. What happens? Of course, all you can see is a white bear. Trying to forcefully suppress a thought often just makes it stronger, more persistent.
So, if brute force fails, what actually works? Direction. It's that simple. Instead of the captain shouting at the engine room to stop, the captain simply gives it a new, clear command. You're not fighting the old pattern, you're just starting a new one. It's like a river. You don't try to smash through a boulder, you just guide the water to flow around it. It's way more effective and takes way less energy.
Okay, theory is great, but let's make this super practical. How does this direction thing actually look and feel in your everyday life? Let's walk through 3 really common situations.
Let's talk procrastination. We've all been there. The suppression voice sounds like, I have to stop this. This is so bad. You're just beating yourself up. The direction approach is totally different. The captain simply gives a small, achievable command. I will now open that document and just write 1 sentence. That's it. It gives the engine room a clear task and starts building good momentum.
Or how about in a difficult conversation? You feel that anger rising, trying to just stuff it down and say, don't be angry, calm down. Yeah, that almost never works. But what if the captain gives a new direction? Something like, my job right now is to listen and try to find just one thing I can understand in what they're saying. You see, you're actively shifting from a reaction to a chosen response.
And this is a huge one for habits. When a craving hits, fighting it head-on is just,
exhausting. It's a battle of willpower. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. A much smarter move is to give that energy somewhere else to go. Ah, there's that craving. Now is the time I'm going to go for a quick 5-minute walk. You're not just breaking the old loop, you are intentionally building a new, better one.
So you can see how this works in principle. But I want to give you a really simple practice you can use like today. The moment you feel that autopilot kick in, you can try this. It's just 3 easy steps. First, just acknowledge the impulse. Notice the anger, the urge to procrastinate, the craving. Just see it without judging it. Ah, there it is. Second, choose a new direction. Ask yourself, what would I rather feel or do right now? Pick something simple and positive. And third, embody it. Just gently hold your focus on that new direction. And the key word here is gently. No force needed.
Seriously, I really encourage you to try this. The very next time you feel that autopilot pull, just walk through those 3 little steps and just notice the shift it creates. You can go from feeling that internal tug of war to a feeling of calm, centered alignment.
So let's just quickly recap the big ideas from this explainer. You've got these 2 modes of mind, a director and a doer. Trying to fight the doer, the automated part, is usually a losing game. The real key to mastery is simply providing clear, positive direction for it to follow. And as we've seen, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a super practical tool you can use in your work, your relationships, your habits, pretty much everywhere.
And this thought from Troward really brings it all home, doesn't it? He understood that sooner or later, our actions have to follow our dominant thoughts. The direction we set in our minds becomes the reality we live. So the question is, what direction are you going to choose?
In our next explainer, we're going to build on this whole idea by looking at what Troward called the unity of the spirit. To continue on this journey, make sure you check out the full playlist for the series. Thanks so much for watching.